Today, we're gonna talk about something super important, and honestly, it's not an easy topic. What do you do if you've realized you're married to a narcissist? Even worse, what if you have kids with them? It's so heavy, right? But listen, you're not alone, and we're gonna walk through it together. Whether you're already in a situation or you suspect you might be, this video is for you. So grab a cup of tea, sit back, and let's dive in together. Now, first off, I wanna say this. If you have realized or you're starting to realize that your spouse is a narcissist, it's a big deal. It can be really scary too. It's not something you should brush off. And it's okay to feel confused, hurt, or even stuck. Narcissistic marriages are tough because on the surface, things might seem okay. I mean, things might even look pretty great, but over time, you start noticing patterns that just don't sit right with you. Maybe it's the constant need for praise, the lack of empathy, or the way everything always ends up being your fault. Sound familiar? Let's break it down for a minute. Being married to a narcissist can feel like you're walking on eggshells all the time. One day, everything's fine, and they're being charming, loving even. But the next, they flip the switch, and suddenly, you're left feeling small. Like no matter what you do, it's never enough. It's draining, exhausting really. They're masters at shifting blame, manipulating situations, and twisting reality. If you've ever found yourself second guessing your own memories or questioning whether you are crazy, that's what's called gaslighting. It's one of their favorite tools, by the way. But here's the thing, just because they're making you feel that way doesn't mean it's your fault or that you're powerless. There are steps that you can take to protect yourself and regain your control, even in a marriage with a narcissist. So let's talk about those. Number one, awareness is everything. First, and this is really important, that awareness is your awakening. The fact that you even recognize that you're married to a narcissist is so huge. So many people are stuck in these relationships for decades and decades and decades. And if that's been you, you don't have to beat yourself up. It's really hard to see it when you're in it. You might not even be realizing what's actually happening to you. So if you've come to that realization, give yourself credit. It's the first step toward healing. Now, once you're aware, you've got to get really honest with yourself about what's going on. Narcissists are experts at creating a version of reality that suits them, but part of reclaiming your power is seeing the truth for what it is. The emotional abuse, the manipulation, the control. It's real and it's not okay. Number two, set boundaries. I know, boundaries sound like such a buzzword these days, but they're crucial when you're married to a narcissist or really anyone. Here's the thing about narcissists. They hate boundaries. No human really likes them, but the narcissist extra hates them. Why? Because boundaries mean they don't have full control over you. It means you're putting up a wall that says, this is what I will and won't accept. This is okay, this is not okay. And for a narcissist, that's super threatening because they thrive on being in charge. Start by setting small boundaries. For example, if they constantly criticize you, you can say something like, I'm not gonna continue this conversation if it's only about tearing me down, and stick to it. It's about teaching them that their behavior has consequences, even if they try to push back. Number three, don't expect them to change. This is probably the hardest one to hear because it likely stings a little, but it's super important. Don't expect them to change. Every human being can change. It's just that a narcissist won't. You might even think, if I just love them more, or if I'm more patient, they'll get better. But narcissists don't want to change because in their minds, they don't need to. They think the problem is everybody else, not them. It's tough because you've invested in this marriage. You may even have kids with them. And it's natural to want to fix things or just preserve the peace. But with a narcissist, change is unlikely unless they decide on their own that they need help. And even then, it's super rare. So you've got to focus on what you can control, which leads me to the next step, number 4. Take care of yourself. This step is huge. You've got to take care of yourself. Being married to a narcissist can wear you down emotionally, mentally, and even physically. Emotional abuse is physical abuse because of the havoc it wreaks on your body when you're always in fight, flight, or freeze, or even fawn. Narcissists are draining, and they'll keep taking and taking if you let them. So it's vital to invest in your own well-being. That means finding support, whether it's a therapist, talking to trusted friends and family, or even just joining support groups for people dealing with narcissistic relationships. Maybe you even follow me on Instagram at Emily Gibson & Co., where I have a whole community of over 100,000 subscribers supporting each other as survivors of narcissistic abuse. Doing little things that fill you up, that remind you of who you are outside of the marriage. Narcissists often make their partners feel small, insignificant, like your needs don't matter, but they do. You matter. Number 5, know your options. Last, this is the tough part. You need to know what those options are. For some people, the reality is that staying in the marriage might not be sustainable in the long term. Narcissistic relationships can be emotionally abusive, and sometimes the healthiest thing you can do is walk away. Now, I'm not telling you to leave your marriage. That's a deeply personal decision, and only you know what's right for you and your mental health and your family. But it's important to at least consider what life outside of that relationship could look like. What would it mean for your mental health, for your happiness, to walk away? Or just to not have that struggle every day in your life. Sometimes just knowing that you have the option to leave can bring a sense of peace, even if you're not ready to act on it. Now, just to recap, if you're married to a narcissist, the first thing you need is awareness. Then start setting boundaries to protect yourself. Don't wait around hoping they'll change. Focus on taking care of you. And finally, don't be afraid to explore all your options, including leaving, if that's what you need to do for your own well-being. I know this is so hard. It's not easy to navigate a marriage with a narcissist, but you're stronger than you think, and you don't have to do this alone anymore. It's not weak to stay. It also takes a very strong person to stay in an abusive relationship. And that strength is like a muscle that grows stronger and stronger every day. Narcissistic, abusive relationships are often met with something called a trauma bond. A trauma bond is 20 times more addictive than heroin. It includes the love bombing phase, where you're feeling oxytocin. Your brain is releasing oxytocin. And then when they start to abuse you, your brain starts releasing stress, adrenaline, and cortisol. And then when the narcissist feels you pull back, they will throw breadcrumbs at you, and your brain will create dopamine. That's the pleasure hormone in your brain. And that will complete the trauma bond that's 20 times more addictive than heroin. Just to put that into perspective for you, less than 3% of people who are addicted to heroin receiving professional treatment ever fully recover. This is 20 times more addictive than that. That's not meant to bring you down or make you feel defeated and like you're never gonna get away. It's meant to show you how strong you truly are and why it's so hard to leave and make these decisions. And don't forget, if these videos are helping you, hit that subscribe button if you want more content just like this. If this video resonated with you, or if you have any questions, drop them in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next one.